In the vast expanse of the ancient skies, legends tell of celestial beings known as the Anunnaki.
Long ago, in the cradle of civilization, a pantheon of powerful deities known as the Anunnaki shaped the very fabric of the cosmos. Journey back to the ancient world of Mesopotamia and uncover the full story of these legendary gods. From the mighty Enlil who separated heaven and earth to the wise Enki and the fierce Ishtar. This audiobook will immerse you in their divine adventures, revealing every detail of their epic roles and the profound impact they had on human destiny. Subscribe now, share the voyage, and explore the complete saga of the Anunnaki, where ancient mysteries and divine tales come to life. Etymology. The term Anunnaki originates from the name of the Sumerian god of the sky, and this name can be written in several different ways, including Danuna, Danunakune, and Danunna. Despite these variations in spelling, all these versions share a common meaning: princely offspring or children of An. The Anunnaki were thought to be the descendants of An, the sky god, and his spouse Ki, the earth goddess. Ki is often associated with the Sumerian mother goddess Ninhursag. In fact, a well-known scholar named Samuel Noah Kramer has suggested that Ki and Ninhursag might have been considered the same deity in the early stages of Sumerian mythology. This idea points to the fluid and evolving nature of ancient mythologies, where gods and goddesses could merge or split based on cultural and religious developments over time. Among the Anunnaki, the first and most significant deity was Enlil. Enlil held the title of the god of air and was regarded as the principal god in the Sumerian pantheon. The Sumerians had a rich mythology about the creation and organization of the universe. According to their beliefs, before Enlil's birth, heaven and earth were not separate entities, but were intertwined as one. This unified existence symbolized a primordial state of being. The birth of Enlil brought a significant change to this primordial state. Enlil's arrival marked the division of heaven and earth into two distinct realms. He took the earth under his domain, while his father carried away the sky. This separation of heaven and earth by Enlil was a crucial event in Sumerian mythology, signifying the beginning of order and structure in the cosmos. It reflected the Sumerians' understanding of the natural world and their place within it. Worship and iconography. The Anunnaki are mainly mentioned in ancient literary texts, with minimal evidence suggesting that they were worshipped in a religious context. This lack of worship evidence likely stems from the fact that each member of the Anunnaki had their own specific religious following, separate from the others. Additionally, no complete depictions of the Anunnaki as a group have been found. However, there are a few artistic portrayals showing 2 or 3 distinct members together. In ancient Mesopotamian culture, deities were depicted as almost entirely human in form. They were believed to have extraordinary powers and were generally imagined to be of immense physical size. Goddesses, in particular, were often depicted wearing a mysterious material called melum, which covered them in a terrifying splendor. This material was not limited to goddesses. Heroes, kings, giants, and even demons could also wear melum. The effect of seeing a deity adorned in melum was described by the term anai, which referred to a physical tingling sensation in the body. Deities were almost always shown wearing horned caps, with these caps consisting of up to 7 superimposed pairs of ox horns. Additionally, the gods and goddesses were sometimes depicted wearing clothing with intricate ornamental gold and silver decorations sewn onto them. The ancient Mesopotamians believed that their gods resided in heaven, although they were thought to have visited the earth during legendary times. A deity's statue was considered a physical manifestation of the god itself, and thus, these cult statues were given constant care and attention. A group of priests was assigned to look after these statues. They would dress the statues and set up feasts before them, symbolically allowing the deities to eat. The temples of these deities were viewed as their physical homes. The gods also possessed boats, which were full-sized barges generally housed within their temples. These boats were used to transport the gods' cult idols across rivers during various religious festivals. In addition to boats, the gods had chariots for carrying their statues over land. Sometimes, a god's cult statue would be taken to the site of a battle so that the deity could observe the combat. The major deities of the Mesopotamian pantheon, including the Anunnaki, were believed to participate in the assembly of the gods. This assembly was where the gods made all their decisions, and it was seen as a divine counterpart to the semi-democratic legislative system that existed during the third dynasty of Ur, around 2112 BC to 2004 BC. Mythology. The earliest recorded uses of the name Anunnaki come from inscriptions written during the reign of Gudea, which was around 2144 to 2124 BC, during the third dynasty of Ur. In these ancient texts, the name Anunnaki is attributed to the most powerful and influential deities in the Sumerian pantheon, who are considered the descendants of the sky god, and this group of deities apparently includes the 7 gods who decree, namely Enlil, Enki, Ninhursag, Nana, Utu, and Inanna. While several deities are identified as members of the Anunnaki, no complete list of all their names has survived. They are usually only mentioned as a group in literary sources. Furthermore, Sumerian texts depict the Anunnaki inconsistently and do not agree on the exact number of Anunnaki or their specific divine purposes. Originally, the Anunnaki seem to have been celestial beings with great powers. In the poem Enki and the World Order, the Anunnaki pay homage to Enki, sing songs of praise in his honor, and take up their dwellings among the people of Sumer. This composition repeatedly states that the Anunnaki decree the fates of mankind, emphasizing their significant role in human destiny. In Sumerian mythology, almost every major god was considered the patron of a specific city and was believed to protect that city's interests. The god was thought to reside permanently inside that city's temple. Some sources suggest that there were as many as 50 Anunnaki associated with the city of Eridu. In the myth, Inanna's descent into the netherworld, there are only 7 Anunnaki who remain in the underworld and act as judges. In this story, Inanna faces a trial before these 7 Anunnaki for her attempt to take over the underworld. They find her guilty of hubris and sentence her to death. Major deities in Sumerian mythology were associated with various celestial bodies. Inanna was identified with the planet Venus, Utu was the sun, and Nana was the moon, and was linked with all the stars of the equatorial sky, Enlil with the stars of the northern sky, and Enki with the stars of the southern sky. The celestial path of Enlil was thought to be a continuous, symmetrical circle around the north celestial pole, while the paths of En and Enki were believed to cross at different points. In Akkadian, Babylonian, and Assyrian literature, the Anunnaki are depicted similarly to their portrayal in Sumerian texts, particularly in Inanna's descent into the netherworld, where they are described as chthonic deities of the underworld. In an abbreviated Akkadian version of this story from the early 2nd millennium BC, Ereshkigal, the queen of the underworld, mentions that she drinks water with the Anunnaki. Later in the same poem, she instructs her servant Namtar to summon the Anunnaki from Igalgina, to decorate the threshold steps with coral, and to seat them on golden thrones. During the Old Babylonian period, circa 1830 BC to circa 1531 BC, a new group of deities known as the Igigi appeared. The relationship between the Anunnaki and the Igigi is ambiguous. Sometimes the two groups are referred to interchangeably, while in other texts like the Poem of Era, a clear distinction is made. In the late Akkadian epic Atrahasis, the Igigi are described as the 6th generation of gods who were assigned to labor for the Anunnaki. After 40 days, the Igigi rebel, and Enki, one of the Anunnaki, creates humans to replace them. From the Middle Babylonian period, circa 1592 to 1155 BC, onward, the term Anunnaki generally referred to the deities of the underworld, while the term Igigi was used for the celestial deities. During this period, the underworld deities Damkina, Nergal, and Madinu were considered the most powerful among the Anunnaki, alongside Marduk, the national god of Babylon. In the classic Akkadian epic of Gilgamesh, circa 1200 BC, Utnapishtim, the immortal survivor of the Great Flood, describes the Anunnaki as 7 judges of the underworld who set the land on fire as the storm approaches. When the flood arrives, Ishtar, the East Semitic counterpart of Inanna, and the Anunnaki lament the destruction of humanity. In the Babylonian Enuma Elish, Marduk assigns roles to the Anunnaki. A later Babylonian version of this epic mentions 600 Anunnaki of the underworld and 300 Anunnaki of heaven, indicating a complex underworld cosmology. In gratitude for their roles, the Anunnaki, referred to as the Great Gods, build a Sagala, a magnificent temple dedicated to Marduk, Ea, and Elul. In the 8th century BC poem of Era, the Anunnaki are identified as the brothers of Nergal and are portrayed as hostile towards humanity. A damaged document from the Neo-Assyrian period, 911 to 612 BC, depicts Marduk leading his army of Anunnaki into the holy city of Nippur, causing a commotion that results in a flood. This flood forces the resident gods of Nippur to seek refuge in the Eshemesha temple of Ninurta. Enlil, angered by Marduk's actions, orders the gods of Eshemesha to capture Marduk and the Anunnaki. Though captured, Marduk appoints his follower Mushtashurablim to lead a rebellion against the Eshemesha gods. He sends his messenger Naratagmil to inform Nabu, the god of literacy. When the Eshemesha gods hear Nabu's message, they leave their temple to find him. Marduk defeats the Eshemesha gods, capturing 360 of them, including Enlil. Enlil argues for the innocence of the Eshemesha gods, leading Marduk to put them on trial before the Anunnaki. The narrative concludes with a warning from Damkiana, another name for Ninhursag, to both gods and humans, advising them not to repeat the conflict between the Anunnaki and the Eshemesha gods. Hurrian and Hittite. In the mythology of the Hurrians and Hittites, who thrived in the mid to late 2nd millennium BC, the oldest generation of gods was believed to have been exiled to the underworld by the younger gods. In the underworld, these elder gods were governed by the goddess Lilwani. Hittite scribes linked these deities with the Anunnaki. In ancient Hurrian language, the Anunnaki were called Karul Suns, meaning former ancient gods, or Katar Suns, meaning gods of the earth. Hittite and Hurrian treaties were often sworn by these ancient gods to ensure the vows were kept. In one narrative, the gods face a threat from a stone monster named Alakami. The later name for Enki, advises the former gods to find the sword that was used to split the heavens from the earth. They locate the sword and use it to cut off Alakami's feet, thereby neutralizing the threat. Although the names of the Anunnaki in Hurrian and Hittite texts sometimes differ, they are consistently depicted as being 8 in number. In one Hittite ritual, the names of these ancient gods are listed as Adantari the Diviner, Zulki the Dream Interpreter, Erpisha Lord of the Earth, Nara, Namsara, Minki, a monkey, and API. The ancient gods did not have a defined cult within Hurrio-Hittite religion. Instead, the Hurrians and Hittites attempted to communicate with the old gods through the ceremonial sacrifice of a piglet in a hole dug in the ground. These ancient gods were frequently invoked to perform ceremonial purifications. The Hittite story of the ancient gods' exile to the underworld bears a strong resemblance to the Greek poet Hesiod's account of the Titans' downfall at the hands of the Olympians in his Theogony. In Hesiod's narrative, the Greek sky god Auranes, whose name means heaven, is the father of the Titans and is derived from the Hittite version of Anu. Auranes is castrated by his son Cronus, much like Anu is castrated by his son Kamarbi in the Hittite myth. Pseudo-archaeology and conspiratorial ideas. Beginning with Chariots of the Gods? In 1968, pseudo-archaeologist Eric von Daniken claimed that extraterrestrial beings, whom he termed ancient astronauts, had visited prehistoric Earth. Over a series of published books, Daniken provided interpretations of Sumerian writings and the Old Testament as evidence, suggesting that the origins of many religions were responses to these encounters with alien species. In 1976, author Zecharia Sitchin expanded on this idea in his book, The 12th Planet. Sitchin proposed that the Anunnaki were actually advanced humanoid extraterrestrials from a yet-to-be-discovered planet called Nibiru. According to Sitchin, these beings arrived on Earth approximately 500,000 years ago. Discovering Earth's wealth in gold, the Anunnaki established a base of operations to mine this precious metal. Sitchin claimed that through in vitro fertilization, the Anunnaki hybridized their species with Homo erectus, creating humans as a slave species to mine gold. Sitchin also suggested that a great flood, caused by the melting of Antarctic glaciers, devastated the Anunnaki's settlements on Earth, forcing them to temporarily leave the planet and circle it in orbit. Once the floodwaters receded, the Anunnaki returned, taught humans agriculture, and rebuilt their structures, requiring a larger human workforce to assist with these enormous projects. Ronald H. Fritz, commenting on Sitchin's theories, noted that the Anunnaki were credited with building the pyramids and other monumental structures worldwide, which ancient astronaut theorists argue could not have been constructed without advanced technology. Sitchin's later works, including The Stairway to Heaven, 1980, and The Wars of Gods and Men, 1985, further developed his mythology. In The End of Days, Armageddon and Prophecies of the Return, 2007, Sitchin predicted that the Anunnaki would return to Earth, potentially as soon as 2012, coinciding with the end of the Mesoamerican long count calendar. Mainstream historians have universally rejected Sitchin's theories, labeling them as pseudo-archaeology. Critics argue that Sitchin deliberately misinterpreted Sumerian texts, quoting them out of context, truncating quotes, and mistranslating Sumerian words to fit his narrative. British conspiracy theorist David Icke, known for popularizing the reptilian conspiracy theory, has also incorporated the Anunnaki into his hypotheses. Influenced by Sitchin, Icke reinterpreted the Anunnaki as the reptilian rulers in his theory. Icke's version combines New Age ideas and conspiracy theories, including far-right historical claims about an Aryan master race descending from the Anunnaki. His narrative also incorporates elements like dragons and Dracula, connecting them through superficial linguistic similarities. Developing his ideas in the 1990s, Icke has written numerous books on the subject, blending these varied themes into his interpretation of the Anunnaki's role in history. In conclusion, the tale of the Anunnaki is as intricate and multifaceted as the ancient civilizations that revered them. These deities, born from the union of sky and earth, not only governed the cosmos but also left an indelible mark on human mythology, worship, and even contemporary interpretations. From their celestial origins to their portrayal as judges in the underworld, the Anunnaki's influence spans a vast expanse of time and culture, evolving through the Sumerian, Akkadian, Babylonian, and even Hurrian and Hittite traditions. As you delve into their myths, worship practices, and the modern reinterpretations fueled by pseudo-archaeology and conspiracy theories, you unravel the enduring legacy of these ancient gods. Whether seen as powerful celestial beings or misunderstood figures in human history, the Anunnaki continue to captivate the imagination, inviting us to explore the mysteries of the past and the myths that shape our understanding of the world.